Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable. Manipal Academy of BFSI presents Insights Unleashed in association with CNBC-TV18.
Hello and a very warm welcome to Manipal Academy of BFSI presents Insights Unleashed, Manipal's impact on BFSI skilling in association with CNBC-TV18. I'm Mugdha Kalra. The banking, financial services and insurance space today stands at the forefront of rapid technological advancements, shifting regulatory landscapes and evolving customer expectations. In recent years, the complexity and dynamism of the BFSI sector have demanded the need for domain-specific knowledge and expertise among professionals. As financial institutions increasingly embrace digital transformation, data analytics, and emerging technologies such as blockchain, artificial intelligence, Gen AI, there arises a pressing need for individuals with specialized skills to navigate these innovations effectively. In this evolving landscape, how are professionals and graduates equipping themselves with the right knowledge, and how is Manipal Academy of BFSI addressing this need? Let's find out from Robin Bhowmik, Chief Business Officer, Manipal Global Education Services, who's here with me today. Welcome, Robin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mugdha. Thank you for having me.
Robin, what led to the inception of Manipal Academy of BFSI, and what has the journey been since then? And I'm also keen to know about yours, because you also joined a EdTech only in 2019, and then when COVID hit. And as we say, every industry was different before COVID and after COVID. So what were the learnings for you as well?
I think the two words that come to mind, transformational and acceleration, are the two things that we have lived with. But to answer your question, Manipal Academy of BFSI was formed in 2008. The original partnership was with ICICI Bank, and that led to the formation of the ICICI Manipal Academy, which till date continues to be a significant source of talent upskilling and build for the bank. In the last 16 years of our existence, Mugdha, I'm extremely proud to say that we have trained over 300,000 bankers in India. And a lot of them have graduated from the academy and started their first careers with the banks that we have partnered with. My personal journey started with Manipal in 2019, and it's been transformational. I think we have all learned from the COVID years, and the way it has impacted not only the industry that we are servicing, but also education and EdTech have been synchronous with each other.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of learning, of course, went into hybrid mode. For the first 2 years, it went into completely offline. But now it has come back in a very big way into our campuses. So there's a lot of online-offline combination that is prevalent today. We continue to have 3 very large campuses in Bangalore, from where most of the training is delivered.
Robin, when we talk about Manipal Academy of BFSI, we see a very different model here. We see a model that is bringing together industry, academia, and of course, the university. What is that model? Why is it different from all the players? And we are seeing a lot of players in the EdTech space. But when it comes to the question of employability, nobody seems to have cracked the right model, which you seem to have with being a favorite of a lot of banking institutions. So what is that secret sauce, and what is the model that you work on?
So, Mugdha, we are fortunate that in the last 16 years, we have worked with every bank in the country, small, large, you name it, and of course, with a lot of fintechs and NBFCs as well. I think the 2 or 3 things that we have really done well was we partnered with the industry early on.
Mm-hmm.
And that is often missed by a lot of our classical educational institutions. Getting the industry to come in with their expertise, and more importantly, their requirements in terms of the outcomes they're expecting from fresh graduates who come into the industry for the first time.
Right.
That is extremely important. Secondly, it's equally important to have a combination of what I would call as soft skills, let's say the behavioral skills, communication skills, etc., combined with domain knowledge. Uh, in turn, combined with a lot more of the recent phenomena, at least in the last, let's say, 5 to 6 years, including the areas that you mentioned. So, for example, areas like data analytics, areas like blockchain, and now every discussion is focused around artificial intelligence and the impact of that on the industry. So, we have continued to stay relevant by being a combination of behavioral soft skills plus very focused domain and new age skills in the technology and data sciences space.
So industry participation and a combination of the skills that you're teaching. The third?
The third for us, as I mentioned, is really where the industry is going. So when you talk about banking 4.0 principles, everybody's talking about the impact of artificial intelligence, for example. Everybody is talking about the impact of, let's say, machine learning, etc. Now, if you look at a lot of the tech graduates who are coming into the industry, the level of, let's say, programming knowledge that they might have picked up during college would not necessarily make them effective in their new role.
True.
Unless they are able to combine it along with, let's say, a project that's very relevant to either banking or insurance or fintech. So when we talk about industry-academia partnership, each one of these projects are co-designed and co-curated with the industry. So we know what the outcomes are, we know where they are expected, and they're evaluated by the industry partners. So there are no surprises in the process.
Robin, what are the trends that you see in the education landscape? We did see a time when banks would hire all these graduates, but were they employable? Perhaps not. Employability still remains a challenge. They would spend a lot of money in training them once they joined, and attrition rates remain the same. What are the trends you see now, and what is the impact that you are bringing? Till what point in their journey do you support them? Tell me all about that.
We see this issue across primarily 2 or 3 areas that we are trying to solve for. Number one is that a lot of the job seekers that we work with who are coming into our academies, they come in from tier 2, tier 3 towns and cities, where, let's say, it's not necessary that the medium of instruction is always English. So how do you localize a lot of the learning in languages that they understand? Secondly, there is also a big issue of people not willing to relocate outside of their towns and cities, especially post-COVID. I think this is a learning that we have had. And fortunately, the BFSI industry is expanding very rapidly into tier 2, tier 3. So their ability to create jobs in the segment where our target group is extremely high. And the third point, Mugdha, which we find very critical in the entire learning outcomes is learnability would essentially mean a factor of how engaged you are in the process. Most of these programs are funded using a student loan. And since a student loan is based on a job that you get at the end of it, where you will have to repay that loan over a period of time, the students are a lot more invested in the process, and learning outcomes are a lot better.
All right. So now we are looking also at a trend where the banks are saying, or the BFSI sector-centric companies are saying that we don't want to train because we are wasting time and perhaps we don't have their expertise. But these are the things that we have as expectations from people who are joining us, which they don't come with. So we might as well partner with you. You take it over and you handhold them into getting into the job. And that makes life easy for, but what is this, but everybody talks about the attrition rate then. How do you sort that issue?
From Manipal's perspective, we are very closely engaged with the learner even post them leaving the campus. So we offer continuous mentorship to each one of our learners. And that makes a big difference and an impact, because typically when you're new in your job, you would rely on somebody that you trust for any issues related to maybe your day-to-day activities. You cannot reach out to your line manager or HR for those kind of issues. So ongoing mentorship is part of what we do, and that's offered by our faculty members.
Even after they finish the course?
Even after they finish the course and then they've joined the bank. The second thing that we also train them on is we have introduced a lot of short modular capsule-oriented kind of programs, which they can consume based on their own convenience. And that reflects the needs of the job, because the needs of the job continue to change. It continues to evolve.
In these times when technology is moving at such a speed that it is so hard for everybody to keep up with the management, with the trends, with the functioning, etc., how does academia deal with it? We all know that in universities, and I'm sure your experience must have been the same, that it takes a while for the core curriculum to change, and that we have seen. But when we're talking about courses like this, how do you strike that balance?
So Mugdha, I think one of the reasons why we continue to scale and we continue to remain very relevant to the industry is because we actively invite talent to come in from the industry.
Okay.
So most of our faculty members are ex-bankers, they are ex-insurance professionals, they are ex-technologists. And today, one thing we have realized is that people love teaching. It's a way of giving back to society. It's also a way of engaging with young minds in a much more practical fashion. So we actively invite talent to come in either in whole-time teaching positions or in part-time teaching positions. And that ranges from diverse topics which include technology, cybersecurity, risk compliance, etc. But that keeps learning much more relevant.
Well, lots to still talk about. So let us take a quick break, but come back. Yeah, time now for a very short break. But on the other side, how diversity, equity, and inclusion is also woven into these programs. So don't go away.
Manipal Academy of BFSI presents Insights Unleashed in association with CNBC-TV18. Manipal Academy of BFSI presents Insights Unleashed in association with CNBC-TV18.
Welcome back. You're watching Manipal Academy of BFSI presents Insights Unleashed, Manipal's impact on BFSI skilling in association with CNBC-TV18. And I'm in conversation with Robin Bhowmik, Chief Business Officer, Manipal Global Education Services. Robin, we were talking about diversity and inclusion. And when we talk about diversity and inclusion, we also talk about inclusion of geographies. And we also talk about diversity in terms of tier 2, tier 3, and how people are now wanting to stay in their own cities, work in their own cities, and they want infra to come to their own cities. Given this context, how are you bridging that gap? And do you see perhaps a trend in the banking industry about going to these places and, of course, then training the people that are coming from these cities?
Most of the banks that we work with have a very strong agenda around diversity and inclusion. And if you look at diversity ratios for most of the large banks that we operate with, there is a significant gap in terms of where they wish to be. A couple of ways in which we are partnering with them. Number one is we work very closely with a lot of women-only colleges across the country. Wonderful. And we are now integrating some of our curriculum into the final year of what those colleges are teaching them. And of course, a lot of that curriculum is taught by women. Before that curriculum is delivered in terms of lectures or lab-based learning, we also talk about how career paths are enhanced or built within some of our hiring partners for some of the women employees, and how they've done and how they've fared and how they've grown within the banks.
Right.
The second part of it is equally around areas like technology, for example. Now, you might be aware that penetration of technology-related subjects within women is at its lowest in the country. It's sub 20%. Now, we have designed quite a few women-only batches where we keep 2 or 3 things in mind. Number one is, for example, if you are either a working woman or you're a woman who is a homemaker, right? How do I deliver some of these content to you at your convenience? So you might be busy during the day. Are you able to put aside a couple of hours on a project work in the evening? Second is in terms of the pure relevance of what we teach. We are making it a lot more hands-on, and that's where technology plays a big role, because we are able to create virtual labs instead of physical labs, which means that you can access it at a point of your choosing. Third is we've also realized that there is a lot of work that most of our partner banks do along with us in terms of promoting these careers, in terms of areas like, let's say equal pay, etc. And that is something that we include as a part of the initial orientation towards a job role that they might be training for.
Right.
So when someone comes into any of these programs, they're fully aware of where it's going to take them 5 years, 10 years later. And you might also be aware with the gig economy coming in, a lot of people are choosing to work at a time and place of their choosing.
Right.
Which kind of goes to your second point about tier 2, tier 3 cities and where is the penetration of, let's say, the banking system going forward. First is there is a huge expansion, and that continues to be in terms of retail banking, which is growth of branches. So we continue to train for most of the roles that you would need in a branch, whether it be operations, whether it be sales, whether it be customer relations, etc. Second is we are seeing a lot of the talent that comes into Manipal Academy of BFSI actually comes from tier 2, tier 3 towns and cities.
Interesting.
So we now have set up a lot of our content that's being delivered not only in regional languages, but we also help them bridge the gap into learning, let's say, a medium of language like English. And a lot of our students who come into my campus, they would never have learned English in their lives. So how do you train them a language in 4 months, something that they've never experienced earlier? So some part of that is solved through, let's say, case studies and user experiences that are created within the classroom. But there is an element of continuous learning, and that's something that we enable for each one of the learners. They continue to consume that learning based on their own availability, their own convenience, and they also have the access to a faculty member as and when they choose. So when I mentioned mentoring earlier, we are now introducing a new concept called mentoring as a service, which really means that you can access somebody who can teach you or who can take you through a learning journey at your own convenience. So these are really some of the things that continue to keep us very agile as we go forward.
Do you also see an interest of banks in having a continual program and association with academic organizations? Because even at times when things are changing, whether it is in the regulatory framework or with the tech itself, it might take time for the banks to come up with a strategy to retrain their employees. Do you also see that happening, that while they have finished their courses, while they are already in the bank and working, but from time to time, academic intervention is sought?
And Mugdha, you're absolutely right, because learning is a continuous process. Banking as an industry or insurance or financial services is rapidly changing. It's a very regulated industry as well, at least banking and insurance both are. So the need to be on top of regulatory changes, compliance requirements, audit requirements are extremely high. So that's an area that we continuously have to be also updated so that we are able to go back and teach the industry at the scale that they need. The second requirement that we have seen in the last, especially I would say post-COVID, there's been a spurt of adoption across various technology roles, across various roles that involve customer experience, customer operations, customer service, etc. That's something that's happening at scale, especially in public sector banks.
Right.
That's something, again, we are addressing through a multitude of options, including classroom learning at our academies, online learning through our learning management platforms.
One of the things that fascinates me about the penetration question that we were, that I posed to you, and the discussion that we were having, that it's not just the big banks, but it is also some of these smaller banks who have the appetite and the ambition to have trained staff coming from smaller towns. So it's not just the students, but I'm guessing it's the bankers and the banking institutions from smaller towns also having the ambition to have the very best from the industry work for them.
Absolutely. And we recently had an experience with a cooperative bank where they reached out to us, and a small cooperative bank based out of Maharashtra, but with huge ambition. And they wanted to recreate the same model that we've been working with the larger banks and apply it across all of the roles, including customer service, operations, back office, etc. They now, on a monthly basis, continue to send us about 200 to 250 of their employees, including to the campus,
wow,
including all the fresh graduates that they're hiring from the market themselves. They necessarily have to go through an onboarding program with Manipal for a period of about 30 days before they go and join the bank. So to answer your question, Mugdha, ambition, I think, has been triggered largely because of market economics as well. But more importantly, a lot of the regional banks have seen a lot of growth in their asset base. They are very well capitalized, so the quality of the assets that they carry on their books is also extremely high and
also
very good.
Availability of institutions like yours where EdTech is solving that issue for them.
Absolutely. And what we kind of end up bringing along with, let's say, the availability piece is the fact that it's recognized by the industry over the last 16 years. So when I say we have trained 300,000 bankers in this country, that accounts for almost 1 in every 5 bankers in India today. So what happens is that the alumni base for us is very strong. A lot of the bankers who would have graduated from my academy in 2009 are now in extremely senior positions in the industry. So there is that natural affiliation when somebody who is a graduate.
I see where the mentor service is coming from.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, fantastic. And all the very best for all these plans. I do see that you will have a very busy next decade or so. So thank you so much for all the insights today and joining us here.
Thank you, Mugdha, for having me. And it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you
so much. Manipal Academy of BFSI stands as a beacon of excellence in the banking and financial services sector, driving positive change and fostering a new generation of skilled professionals. With its unwavering dedication to industry relevance, diversity and innovation, the Academy remains at the forefront of shaping the future of banking leadership in India and beyond. Thank you for joining us today for Insights Unleashed, Manipal's impact on BFSI skilling in association with CNBC-TV18. It has been an informative discussion delving into the intricacies of BFSI sector. Thank you so much.
Manipal Academy of BFSI presents Insights Unleashed in association with CNBC-TV18.
Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.